Welcome back to the Cal Park Bros podcast. Jason and I are just fresh off segment 2, talking about corporate name changes that worked, or in some cases didn't work. We also could have talked about Garth Brooks when he was trying to do the Chris Gaines alter ego shit. I forgot about that.
I was just talking about that the other day because he had a huge concert here in Indianapolis when I first moved here and working for a previous employer. It was like the biggest to do, and people said he hadn't. People were saying Garth Brooks hadn't been on tour in years. Blah 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 blah. And then somebody said, "Yeah, he was on tour as Chris Gaines or something." Like, I'm like who? Like what? I still didn't understand the point of that, but I was reminded of that yesterday, or Sunday or whatever. But yeah, that name change didn't work.
Yeah, he was intending on doing like a movie for that too. That's wild.
Everybody wants to be an actor,
Including us.
Well, I'm already a naturally good actor, so that makes sense.
In this segment, we're going to be talking about the National Basketball Association's 75th anniversary. This is the diamond year, guys. And of course, no anniversary for the NBA would be complete without people pissed off about the anniversary team. Jason, do you remember the 50th anniversary team in 1996?
I do actually. That was, we were obviously teenagers at that point, so we were heavily into sports. Basketball was king. The Bulls were king around that time frame, so we were definitely into it. I thought that was such a huge deal because a lot of the players on that team were either current or very recent players, so I knew them and I recognized this is pretty cool. Jordan's on the team, Pippen's on the team. Our Bulls were there, I remember the controversy, like we said yesterday, by Shaq being on the team, even though he'd only been in the league for like 4 years at that point or something like that. So, but they knew, and justifiably so. In the long game,
It's okay to be ahead of the curve when you got a guy like Shaquille O'Neal. Just because he didn't make the dream team didn't mean people didn't think he was going to be great.
yeah, we see they didn't shoot go over their projections when it comes to putting Christian Laettner on the list, so they knew better than that. So, but yeah, man, I thought the list was pretty cool. I actually didn't realize that there was also a 25th anniversary team and a 35th anniversary team as well. Did not know that. I feel like such a huge deal as it should have been was made out of the 50th anniversary team that I don't recall any mention of a 35th and a 25th team. So,
Well,
yeah.
we were also, we know about the 50th anniversary because our attention span in sports was different then. Not to mention, the National Basketball Association was not the marketing wonder kind that it is today. I mean, on some of these squads, hell, the 10th best player has 1 million followers on Instagram. So there is some marketing punch behind having a brand even in 1996. I mean, at that point, Barcelona had already happened. The dream team had already won. The game had already expanded. Hell, Yao Ming was on his way. So it does make sense to me that the 96 50th anniversary team is going to be more well known. First off, it's got fucking Jordan on it, for Christ's sake.
Who?
Come on, dog.
Oh, you mean Michael Jordan? Oh, yeah, he was pretty good.
So, one, I think it's important to talk about we should probably talk about the new people they added to the 75th squad.
I have that. Hot off the dirt sheets. I eat my printer. Yeah. So, like I said, and as you mentioned in the meeting yesterday, this 75th anniversary team actually has 76 players because apparently there was a tie in the voting. We don't know who the tie was between. They'll never say, of course, but doesn't matter. But the
It should
guys,
it should have mattered though. Like they
well,
just should have had 75 players, and they just should have had that 76 guy on the outside looking in, say, "Sorry, dog, you can't get in the club tonight," and maybe we'll see if we can do something for you on the 80th anniversary. And that motherfucker just be mad as hell. It would have been amazing.
what they should have do is have like some type of like horse competition or one-on-one competition between 75 and 76. The winner of this makes the team. The other guys see you at 100. But yeah, but so the 26 guys added to the list, and we should note that all 50 guys from the 50th anniversary team made the list. Apparently, that wasn't guaranteed, but that's just how it worked out. But these are the 26 guys added to this list: Ray Allen, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Carmelo Anthony, Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, AD Anthony Davis, Tim Duncan, Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, James Harden, LeBron James, Jason Kidd, Allen Iverson, Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard, Reggie Miller, Steve Nash, Dirk Nowitzki, Chris Paul, Gary Payton, Paul Pierce, Dennis Rodman, Dwayne Wade, and Russell Westbrook. So, and we're going to get to this, but just like any other list, all-star team, whatever, there's always going to be people that are considered snubs. We didn't have this information yesterday, at least not written down when it comes to who was added to the team. But when I look at this list of 20, just the list of 26 guys that actually made the team, I don't. I mean, somebody can always talk me into it, but I don't see anybody on here that's like, okay, I'm going to take this guy out to add somebody else. And we'll go more deeper into that when it comes to all the snubs people are mentioning. But I can look at this list and say, okay, I understand why they're there. You know what I mean? So what do you think about that 26 list?
Um, I feel like these are legit players, and the only thing that I really have a problem with is Paul Pierce being on that list. I totally feel like the fact that he's a Celtic is why he got in. I don't think Paul Pierce is even the best like small forward of his generation. So for him to get in, it's kind of a homer pick. It's to placate the establishment.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a homer pick. I mean, the people voted on this was, as you know, a mixture of different people that have no love lost for the Celtics. Number one, um,
They like
uh,
they are friends with people on the Celtics though. They are friends with people in that organization. Uh, to me, that would stand to be relevant.
I will say this for Paul Pierce, and again, we recognize this that the list is totally subjective, you know. Um, but when it comes to Paul Pierce, and I point this out to you as you probably already knew, he is a top 16 all time scorer in the NBA. So I kind of feel like if you're going to take him off, like we can probably get into it now. If you're going to take him off, who are you putting on there, right? Um, I mean, I had to look at the list, but I had to imagine the other 15 of the 16 scorers are probably on this list, you know. So, and there's probably some guys behind him that are on the list too. So it's kind of like, okay, what's your argument to take him off and put somebody else on there?
Uh, Clay Thompson. I two guys that I would actually feel really comfortable swapping out, and I'd be okay with either one of them getting in. Is either Clay Thompson or Dwight Howard. I feel like when a guy like Paul Pierce gets in, it really speaks to the fact that a lot of these people understate the importance of defense. A guy like Dwight Howard, defensive wonderkind, athletic freak of nature, literally willed his team to the fucking finals. Beat a LeBron team, by the way, might I add. Wasn't exactly surrounded by stars on that fucking squad, by the way.
Neither was Dirk.
Dirk had J Kidd, who's I believe is also on this list.
Okay, so you mentioned Paul Pierce. If I was to say, okay, there's one guy on this list that probably shouldn't be there, that's mine. I'd say him easily. Now, you and I yesterday did go over his accomplishments in the NBA. Not saying he wasn't a good player or isn't a good player, but when I think Jason Kidd, I don't think one of the 75 best players of all time in the NBA. But we mentioned Klay Thompson, and there's an article here from Sports Illustrated that talks about the 75th anniversary team, and of course they mentioned some of the biggest snubs amongst other things. And what people mention, of course, like you said, Klay Thomas, people mention him, Dwight Howard. Some people said Joe Dumars, Grant Hill, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady was another one as well. Um, I, but I say the same thing about those guys. When I think of those names, I don't think the biggest, or rather, I don't think the one of the best 75 players of all time. Klay Thompson is really good. I would have to say he's not. I mean, I'll tell him to his face. I don't think you're one of the best 75 players of all time. Now we can now again the funny thing about, and this brings up in the article as well, about players who are on track to get added to the 100th anniversary team 25 years from now. Klay Thompson could be one of those. Okay, because he can do. There's a whole lot more he can do in the next 5-10 years to say, okay, you might not be one of the best 75 of all time, but you can be one of the best 100, which is still a good accomplishment. You mentioned Dwight Howard, also has good accomplishments as well. His time in Orlando was phenomenal. I question what happened after that when it comes to, okay, is he really one of the best 75? Because yeah, he was definitely on a good pace in Orlando. Once he left, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is what we got.
I mean, how many years had he been in Orlando?
A lot. I mean,
So, so,
uh,
so that feels weird, even penalizing him.
if I recall correctly, he did 2 contracts there. His first one out, his second one. So I believe he was there for at least 8 years. I believe I'm looking it up right now. But go ahead, sir. And I definitely
8 years.
is that it? Okay. Um, so yeah. So then, if I recall correctly, he went to the Lakers and all stuff like that. Atlanta. Didn't even go back to Orlando once too. Um, so I don't know. I just kind of feel like he lost a lot of his luster after that. Yeah. So went to Orlando, Lakers, Rockets for 3 years. I've forgotten about that. Um, Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, back to the Lakers, the Sixers, and current third stint with the Lakers. Really third? Oh, wow, yeah. So, and that's where it gets kind of questionable for me. All the bouncing around. Now, again, his accomplishments. He is a 5-time NBA All Star. A 5-time first team All NBA. Again, I believe that was again all with Orlando. Um, so again, okay, so it's the accomplishments after Orlando. He was All NBA second team in 2014. He was All NBA third team in 2013. Other than that, all of his other accomplishments came while he was in Orlando. Granted, again, good 8 years there, but after that, okay. So are we going to put him in the best 75 of all time for what he did in 8 years? I'm not.
I
And obviously,
mean,
they aren't either. So
nice. Yeah. But my point is, there absolutely seems to be a little bit of recency bias. Like Dwight Howard has absolutely accomplished more in his 8 years at his peak than Anthony Davis did.
no, I
You see
agree.
you see where I'm going with this?
That I agree.
Like
When it comes to him in particular, I agree. Go ahead.
like like Anthony Davis, who I really really like as a player, you're playing 2/3 of the fucking games.
Now,
Does he benefit from the LeBron mashup, from the cosign, from the ring. Best thing to ever happen to him. Best thing to ever happen to him. I can assure you that did more for Anthony Davis's legacy than it did for LeBron's.
When you everything you just said, you know what that sounds like? People that make that same argument for Scottie Pippen. Everything you just said sounds exactly like what people say for Scottie Pippen. And it's like, and I agree with you with everything you said about Anthony Davis. You know, would he be on this list had they not won the championship a couple years ago? Maybe. Now, I will say there are some people on this list. It's like, okay, have they really done enough to be on this list? This is not saying he should be on the list, but people like Damian Lillard.
I like Dame as a player. I feel like I like Dame a lot as a player. I think I also like him a lot as like a personality.
Mm-hmm.
But he is not a better fucking player than Klay Thompson.
Oh, well, I'm not saying
He's
that.
not a better player than Klay Thompson.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I think he is better than Klay Thompson. But, okay, so here's my knock on Klay Thompson.
He might be a better scorer. He's not a better shooter, and he's definitely not a better defender.
Okay, but here's my knock on Klay Thompson. Most of the guys, just looking at this 26, most of the guys on this list, most, not all, have been able to make their name some sort of way as the number one guy on the team. Has Klay done that yet? Is he ever going to be able to do that? No. So, and that's why, me personally, I wouldn't put him on the team. It's always been on Steph. It's always going to be Steph Curry's team, no matter what he does, until he goes somewhere else.
I mean, Steph Curry doesn't even have a Finals MVP, so
what?
Fuck? Yeah, I mean,
but who does? In the years they won the championship, who does? Kevin Durant probably has 2 of them. So what? We're not arguing about Kevin Durant being on the team. He's probably the best player in the league now. So, but what I'm saying is, but Curry has won a championship as the number one guy on the team. Klay Thompson can't say that. Now, Damian Lillard hasn't won a championship either, but he's shown his greatness as the number one guy on the team.
Yeah, that's messy. I'm sorry. Tell me what, Jason. That's fucking messy, dog.
Tell me what I said that was wrong. Tell me anything I just said that was wrong.
It's just messy. It's messy. It's messy because these people, these voters, and I understand I'm talking about,
legends.
Not
all of them, but yeah,
a good chunk of them.
Right.
They love to break out the team success when it's convenient. Like, it either matters or it doesn't. Like, is Dame putting up amazing numbers? Yes. That being said, how many times has Portland actually made it out of the first round?
Well, see, that's a dangerous slope, though, because we're going to start talking about team success. Now, I guess where's the balance in? Because there's a lot of guys on this list here that didn't win championships. My favorite player of all time, case in point, he never won a championship. He went to the finals once, but he never won a championship. He's on the list.
But made it out of the first round multiple years. Made it to the conference finals multiple years, made it to the finals, ran into a fucking buzzsaw called the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, objectively, even though I think Reggie might be a sucker, objectively, his resume does stand up to the test of time. Although I'm glad Ray Allen got that record. Yeah, I curse you. Man. Yeah, dude. First off, I always love when an anniversary team comes out because it's guaranteed to piss people off. Like, the anniversary team understood the assignment. We're talking about it, ergo, it worked. Same thing happened in the 50th anniversary. It's something we can argue about in the barbershop for the next 10 fucking years.
I'll have to go back and look at the 50th anniversary team because other than Shaq, I don't recall any arguments people had when it comes to who made that list because I feel like that was a pretty solid 50. It's like you really couldn't argue a whole lot. People might have been talking about like Dolph Shades, should he be on it back because he played back in the days of like the 40s and 50s of the NBA, so forth and so forth. But in reality, was there really that many people arguing about who should or shouldn't have been on the team other than Shaq?
Yes, they just didn't have Twitter accounts then.
Also, also a fair point. Also a very fair point. The internet was a thing, but or was it
The
actually? I don't know.
the,
I don't.
in 96 is 90 in 1996, I can assure you the internet was a place. It's just we don't have we don't have the Twitter receipts the way we do today, where somebody said something really really stupid that they'd have to back up 5-10 years after the fact. Nah, man, that shit is in the barbershop. That's where that archive is. You gotta hang out with Cleophas and say, hey fam, we gotta talk about this Shaq pick. To really get into people's contention with selections from previous anniversary years. And ultimately, as time goes on, that Shaq pick is going to be less controversial.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah, because clearly we know he's one of the best now for sure. But just speaking at the time, only been in there for 4 years. Yeah, you're talking about Anthony Davis. Yeah, clearly it's like why is this dude on there? You know, he ain't done nothing yet. You know,
Right. Right. I can assure you in his 4 years that Shaq accomplished more than Anthony Davis accomplished in his however many years he's been in the league. So
that's fair. That's fair. One thing I do want to bring up real quick. I mentioned the Sports Illustrated article. It talked about people who might be on the list for 25 years from now when we have a 100th anniversary team. The next 20, I guess 24 players in this case who might make the team. And the big four they named were, of course, Luka Doncic, of course, Trae Young, Joel Embiid, and Nikola Jokic. They all felt like, with the way the track's going now, that those four are probably going to be on the next 25 or 24 that come in. So, um, and again, Clay probably get the nod. Other people like Jason Tatum, maybe people throughout LaMelo Ball out there. Not Lonzo, but LaMelo. So, which I'm not even gonna go into that. Um, but yeah, it's really, and I think that's what's gonna be fun because now that have been alive for 50, and now we've seen the 75 team, and knock on wood, we'll both be around for the 100th anniversary team. They kind of
right.
see the evolution of the players on the 50th team that were around, currently playing at that time, players, people that we had only heard about, and now we're coming to the 75 team, and some of those players who were around back when we were, for the 50th team, now there's some of those old legends starting to become forgotten about in a way by the younger generation because they haven't been allowed to see them, so forth and so forth. So by the time 100 comes around, think about how much perspective you and I are going to have on the 50th anniversary team, the 75th, and the 100th anniversary team because that's again 25 years from now, but I'm kind of stuff like that is gonna be pretty cool. So I can't wait for that. And I definitely agree that the way things are going, Luka Doncic is definitely going to be on that 100th anniversary team. Because
Well, one question is someone definitely brought this up in one of the sports groups, Best Damn Sports. Shout out to you guys. Um, Only two MVPs not to be on an anniversary squad. Name them.
ooh, well I can't say Steve Nash because he's on this one. Wow, regular season MVPs.
Yeah,
Ooh, I'm gonna tap out, bro, because I can't think of who that might be.
you got Jokic,
Because it just had okay, yep.
D Rose. That'll be interesting to see if people like D Rose enough in 25 years to actually give him some love.
I didn't bring it up, but they actually mentioned him not as a snub per se, but mention people like him and Grant Hill who could they be on the list, but they feel like injuries derailed what would have been uh, almost surefire on the list. Just for even what we're seeing from D Rose now, we can see that hey, perhaps for not been for the knee injury, this could have been similar to what we could have been seeing before. You know,
Right.
so yeah, that's wow. Okay, that's a good one. Now, yeah, that's so I guess that's something to look out for 25 years from now. How many more MVPs will be added to the list that won't be on the 100th team? Now, there's going to be some, of course. Mathematically, it's most likely, but that's a good little trivia thing, man. Good one, good one.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep. Well, folks, that concludes our segment on the NBA's Diamond Anniversary 75th team announcements. Coming up, we will close out the show and address any observations and omissions. Coming up on Cow Park Bros.